Laughter in the cemetery. A story told by my friend Alexei. There is nothing terrible in it, but it is quite suitable for this section. I write as usual on behalf of the narrator. More than 10 years have passed since my mother's death. Grave I visit every year. When 4 times a year, but one day at the end of July or early August I come necessarily, tear up all the grass, paint the fence, etc. And so on August 3rd of this year I came to the grave and went about my usual business. After working for about 10 minutes, I heard a conversation coming from the direction of the nearest grave. 2 women were talking. Judging by my assessment of the votes, one belonged to a woman of 50, 60 years old, and the second was very young, about 20 years old. It would seem that this is special. In the afternoon, there are a dozen people in the cemetery. But the whole trick is that the elderly, let's call her that, said something edifying to the young one, and she, before answering, laughed loudly, downright contagiously. That surprised me a lot. I saw a lot of things at the cemetery, but even the drunken visitors did not allow themselves to laugh like that. And here's what else is remarkable, between the fence of the mother's grave and the one from where the laughter rang, a sprawling lilac bush grew, so that visitors were completely invisible. I don't like to pry into other people's affairs and decided to keep my head down. After all, what does it matter to me? The girl on their grave is laughing. I was picking grass and did not listen at all to the conversation of unusual visitors. The most amazing thing was that the voices sounded quite loud and clear, but it was impossible to understand a single phrase, even a single word, although I can absolutely say that the conversation was conducted in Russian. And suddenly it stopped abruptly, just as suddenly as it started. Here I had a keen interest to look at these women after all. I stood at the gate of my fence and slowly drank water from the bottle I brought. Lilac did not block the path along the fences, and it was simply impossible for them to get out by another path. I stood there for 10 minutes, but no one came out on the path. And then I became really curious. I quietly went out onto the path and went to the fence. What he saw was shocking, there was no one at the grave. I stood for a minute in complete bewilderment, then opened the gate and went to the graves. Then I state the facts, of course, I don't write the names, but judging by the surnames, the mother and daughter were buried. Mother, 52 years old, died in May 2003, daughter, 26 years old, died in September 2003. I can't add anything else, but I don't want to fantasize.